What we wanted to do with the creation of the Hops Heaven is have an area to showcase the craft beers, the craft beer partners that we have, and really kind of create a destination within the ballpark for people that are looking for a more unique baseball experience. The craft beer lover is somebody who's really passionate about their beer choices and their options, and it's something that traditionally you don't find in a ballpark setting. And so for us to be able to offer that to the guests that visit the ballpark and the guests that travel to Myrtle Beach, it's a really unique thing. And sharing that story has allowed us to form a partnership with New South Brewery to create a beer specifically for the Pelicans, designed using the same hops that we grow right here in the ballpark, and provide a beer that really started in the ballpark, was produced here locally, and can be served to the guests and fans that come to the ballpark.
I'm Dave Epstein. I'm the owner brewer here at New South Brewing Company. We've been here for Thanksgiving this year will be 15 years, making beer from scratch right here at this location. We're right here in the heart of Myrtle Beach, and we're real excited about this new venture we got going on with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. Craft beer has really grown a lot over the last, especially over the last 3 years, and so it's really fun to see more and more companies like the local ballpark trying to introduce new beers and introduce the public a little bit more to craft-made beers and more importantly, locally made beers.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Brock Kurtzman. I'm the head brewer here at New South Brewing Company. I'm just going to take you guys on a step-by-step from grain to glass and kind of let you see what we do on a day-to-day basis here. The hop is a real beautiful flower. Grows on vines about 20 feet tall, and they grow all over the world. You'll find them all over the U.S., you'll find them all over South America, you'll find them all over Europe and Australia and New Zealand, and kind of according where they are in the world, they're going to have very different flavors. That's why they're the spice of the beer. We use the best quality granulate you can possibly buy. We don't use rice, we don't use corn, we don't use any other adjuncts to get our starch. We use two-row barley from Chilton, Wisconsin. And this glass kind of shows a good representation of those grains that we use, all the way from the lightest two-row barley all the way up to the darkest, which is our black. And each one of these grains really gives a very important part and texture of the beer. You're going to get a lot of the body of the beer, you're going to get a lot of the flavor, and of course a lot of the color with the different kind of grains that we're using. Things like biscuity flavors and caramels and chocolates and espressos, all they're going to come from these two-row barley grains. We're going to take all those grains that I was just talking about, we're going to lightly crack them open to be able to get to that meat on the inside of the kernel. We're going to have that done in this room right behind us over here. It's going to get shot up an elevator and up into this big white grist hopper. This is where we'll actually keep all that cracked grain. As I'm going to start dropping all that grain that's been lightly cracked and start adding water to it. So I'm going to steep it just like you would a tea bag in water, start pulling all the color and the flavor out of it. But with the right temperature, what I'm going to do is also I'm going to take that starch and I'm going to convert it over into sugar. So this first process, I'm actually creating a very sweet liquid. We call it the wort, or the tea of the barley. After I've gotten that sweet liquid, I'm going to start transferring it over into the kettle. Exactly what it sounds like, a large heating device. Once I fill up the kettle, I'm going to get it to a boiling point. I've got a steam jacket on the bottom and a steam jacket on the side that's going to get it to that boiling point. Once I get to that boiling point, I get to that where I was talking about the spice of the beer with those hops. That's when I'm going to start adding those hops in different parts of the process. The longer we cook those hops, the more bitterness you get. So that first addition is going to give it our bitterness. The last two additions, not cooking as long, are going to be your flavor and your aroma hops. So whenever you're smelling that beer and getting that fresh cut flowers, or you're getting the citrus, or you're getting the pininess, that's kind of what we're looking for on those hops. It'll start going into the fermenters, and we're going to actually add yeast to it. Yeast is very important because that's actually what makes the magic happen. It's a little single-cell organism, and its life purpose is to eat and multiply. And luckily for us, its favorite food source is sugar. So being that we just created a lot of sugar over here, we're putting a kid in a candy store, so to speak. So we put the yeast in, and that yeast is just going to go crazy. It's going to eat and multiply, eat and multiply, eat and multiply. And what happens is when it eats that sugar, it's going to create alcohol and it's going to create CO2. So it's naturally carbonating itself and it's creating alcohol at the same time. So we get the magic. We get exactly what we're looking for. In here is where we actually do a lot of that carbonating. This is where we do a little cold aging furthermore. and also this is where we're going to actually put the bubbles into the beer. Once we get the bubbles into the beer, which is done with a carbonating stone, just like a aeration stone on a fish tank, we actually, instead of hooking up oxygen, we hook up CO2, and we're able to get that beer exactly to the level carbonation, wise that we're going to want to put it out on the market. And once that's happened, it's pretty much ready for package. We're either going to put it into the keg or we're going to put it into the canning machine.
Yeah, well, beer and baseball goes together so great. And again, we're just so excited to have the Pelicans as a local group here, incorporate the local brewery. So it's a great thing that we got going on. The beer that we're making, that we're going to put out for you guys is it's sort of an American white ale meets an American pale ale, and we call it the so-called white pale ale. It's sort of a new thing for us, and you'll see more and more craft breweries making beers like this. But over the years, we found that our white ale that we make, our year-round beer, our white ale, was one of our best sellers. So we were like, well, how can we embellish this beer, change it up a little bit, still make it really good, easy drinking, great for summertime ball games, and but also add a little bit more flair to it. So we took that whole idea of the white ale, and we infused that beer with a little bit more hops, and we used the American citrus hops to sort of accentuate, because the white ale to begin with is already spiced with coriander and orange peel. So we're really playing off that whole citrus note by adding the citrus hop in the flavoring and the dry hopping, which is really not so much adding hop bitterness, but hop flavor and aroma, and really playing off that citrus note. So it's, again, something that goes down really easy, but it's also got a unique enough flavor. It's not just like any other kind of light beer out there.